such as the Marlinist colonies. Sirius Corporation, the fourth superpower, the galaxy's largest megacorporation, is continuing to influence the political arena and the plan. A review was published by Marlon Royce, business analyst for Vox Galactica.
Safe and secure. Systems offline. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau wishes you a pleasant and productive visit, Commander.
With its own government, laws and naval fleet, it's not surprising that Sirius Corporation is occasionally referred to as the fourth superpower. That now seems to be its actual goal, as its impact upon interstellar politics increases. When Sirius Corporation resettled Marlinist refugees in their own colony systems, it averted war between the Empire and the Federation. But this seemingly altruistic move enabled CEO Li Yongru to claim political neutrality, gaining public support to host the Galactic Summit in the Sirius system. That success was undermined by the controversy of granting diplomatic status to pirate warlord Archon Delane. Rumors of secret business dealings were reinforced when Sirius subsidiaries appeared alongside the Kulo crew's new starports. High-level agreements were also made with the Alliance, with Sirius Atmospherics aiding colonization of the Coalsack Nebula. But some believe that its project to terraform ammonia worlds brought retaliatory strikes from the Thargoids and enormous casualties. The latest news is of a collaboration with technology brokers to make a previously limited ship
incoming mission-critical message.
You're commercially available. Is this a shrewd business decision, or part of Sirius Corporation's strategy of political dominance? ACT continues to hunt NMLA terrorists. The affiliated counter-terrorism unit has published an update on its investigation into the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez, one of ACT's joint leaders, gave a statement to the media. ACT is currently pursuing multiple lines of inquiry, which must remain classified for reasons of security. Our agents are gathering evidence from sites across the Alliance, Empire, and Federation. As yet, we cannot report any significant breakthroughs. NMLA activists appear to use a dark comms network that defies detection. They also compartmentalize their operations, so individual cells have little knowledge of each other. In recent months, NMLA incidents have been restricted to minor strikes against Imperial authorities, which were dealt with by local police forces. There has been no activity by Theta Group, the hardcore Marlinists responsible for the 9 Martyrs starport bombings. The collapse of the Neo-Marlinist Order of Mudrid may have deprived the NMLA of their logistical capability to deliver large-scale attacks. But it remains possible that a new wave of terrorist atrocities is being planned. ACT later confirmed that it has recruited additional personnel from Alliance Interpol, the Federal Intelligence Agency, the Imperial Internal Security Service, the Marlinist Constabulary, Nova Imperium's Praetorian Guard, and the Warglass Investigations Agency. The legacy of the Hesperus. Pilots Federation alert. Commanders in the Chukchan and Perseus Dark Region KCVC-22 systems have reported being contacted by Salvation. The anonymous individual is known to have an interest in the Adamastor and the Hesperus, the ghost ships within those systems. Both of the derelict megaships were operated 200 years ago by Azimuth Biochemicals. Commander Tyler Thorson told Vox Galactica, "I was taking some sightseers on a trip round the Hesperus, and getting as close as I dared to the Scrivener's clan dredger. I scanned the tourist beacon for them, and suddenly received a direct message from this Salvation guy. He asked me to track down some old signal beacons, which are listening posts configured to retransmit long-range comms. Apparently these could help locate the survivors from the megaship. But the Hesperus is ancient history. Surely there can't be anything or anyone left to find?" In April, Salvation unofficially recruited independent pilots to locate the Hesperus and to deliver its surviving logs to Taurus Mining Ventures. The Pilots Federation is running an inquiry into Salvation and his associates. Commanders are being cautioned against undertaking tasks for what may be an illegal enterprise. Core Dynamics triumphs against Jupiter Division. Pilots Federation alert. The corporate faction Jupiter Division has been defeated by the Silver Legal Group in the SAUTAC system. The breakaway faction from Core Dynamics was unable to resist efforts by its parent company to recover ships and resources. Jupiter Division will soon be subsumed by Core Enterprises, a subsidiary of Core Dynamics. Owen McKenna, the CEO of Core Dynamics, declared, "Thanks to the Silver Legal Group and other loyal allies of the Federation, we have finally crushed this criminal enterprise. Let this be an end to the delusions of Jupiter Rochester." Many news feeds believe that Jupiter Division's defeat will have a negative impact on the corporatist movement that has recently emerged within some federal systems. Director Theodore Sullivan of the Silver Legal Group confirmed that those who fought on their side can now collect payments from the Iron Wings of Justice megaship in the South system. Neo-Marlinist political party emerges. Minister Aaron White, leader of the Marlinism Reformation Party, has confirmed that it aims to politically represent the neo-Marlinist fringe. At a meeting of the Marlinist Parliament, Minister White declared, "Not all of the neo-Marlinist community seek a violent uprising to end the Duval family's 1,000-year dictatorship. We can help replace desperate acts of rebellion with meaningful dialogue and public pressure." Several news feeds observed that White was attempting to rebrand neo-Marlinism as being closer to the mainstream ideals of Marlinism. However, the possibility that the faction may now act as the political wing of the NMLA has caused widespread alarm. In related news, a recent election in the Hyades sector ROPB-62 system saw voters remove the Marlinism Reformation Party from power after it granted asylum to survivors from the Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid. The system's new leader, Minister Octavia Volkov of the exiled Marlinist Assembly of Baltazine, announced, "My party believes in following Marlin Duval's example by building independent democracies, rather than reforming the empire. However, 3 of our colony systems have already fallen under the control of foreign factions. We urgently need support to keep the dream of a Marlinist republic alive." Aegis megaship vanishes in hyperspace. The Alexandria has failed to arrive in the HIP 30944 system as scheduled, and may have been hyperdicted by the Thargoids. The Aegis-owned megaship triggered an attack by Thargoid vessels when it traveled from the Delphi system to HIP 16538 on the 20th of May. Aegis believes this was caused by the large quantity of Guardian artifact in its cargo holds. To reduce the risk of further casualties, the Alexandria plotted a route to a low-population prison colony in the HIP 30944 system. All independent ships were undocked before it made the hyperspace jump on the 3rd of June. However, the megaship never reached its arrival point and all communication with it has ceased. Search teams in local systems have not detected its presence. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison with Aegis, informed the media, "We regret to announce a complete loss of contact with the Alexandria. Although there is no evidence of damage or destruction, its disappearance while traveling through hyperspace raises the possibility that it was intercepted en route by Thargoid forces. Captain Jacob Morales and over 4,000 crew members will be listed as missing presumed dead." In addition to this great tragedy, Aegis's research program into Guardian technology has been severely impacted by the loss of many precious artifacts. Dredger clan arrives at Kumo City. Pilots Federation alert. A Blue Viper Club dredger has entered the Pegasus sector PNTC 314 system, and may have links with the Kumo Crew Syndicate. The Dredger-class bulk cruiser has taken position near Kumo City, one of 5 starports recently constructed by pirate warlord Archon Delane. Dredger clans are nomadic communities that travel on the fringes of civilization, and their ancient vessels are rarely seen. Pilots in Pegasus sector PNTC 314 have been warned to keep a safe distance from the dredger. Francesca Wolf of the Wall Glass Investigations Agency published her observations. The Blue Viper Club is a fiercely independent tribe with an unsavory reputation. Dredger clans typically survive by gathering materials and salvage, but these people indulge in more criminal behavior including drug running and raiding outposts. The clan occupies more than one dredger, but these have never entered an inhabited system before now. There has been no conflict with local factions or system security. However, unmarked personnel shuttles have been witnessed traveling to and from the dredger. Are we looking at a piratical alliance between the Blue Viper Club and the Kumo crew? Is Archon Delane expanding his reach to the dredger clans? Or have they brought him something of value that they discovered in deep space? Federation battles independence in the Azelachu system. Pilots Federation alert. Conflict has erupted between the Azelachu Free and Nichi Incorporated factions, as multiple federal systems declare independence. This was sparked by Azelachu Free withdrawing from the Federation, which transformed Azelachu, LFT-824, LHS-277 and LTT-3919 into independent systems. The faction strenuously opposes government monitoring of federal citizens' private communications. 3 other federal factions are on the verge of declaring independence: Coalition of Uteran, LP-7266 Free and Gluskap Labor. All are closely monitoring the situation in Azelachu and considering their next move. Mayor Constanza Noguera, leader of Azelachu Free, made this statement: "We refuse to accept the Federation's draconian surveillance laws. I call upon all supporters of independence to help us fight for our sovereignty." The declaration brought a swift reaction from President Zachary Hudson. "As Azelachu Free has violated the federal accord, I have no option but to order Nichi Incorporated to engage with these criminals. Thanks to advance intelligence on the secession, we were able to establish the megaship Fortress Liberty in the system to help retake it for the Federation." In Congress, Shadow President Felicia Winters faced criticism for allowing the secession to occur within her sphere of influence. She reiterated that she does not support rebellion, but does consider the Proactive Detection Bureau to be unconstitutional. Salvation eclipses Aegis to obtain Guardian artifacts. Pilots Federation alert. Rival delivery campaigns by Aegis Research and Taurus Mining Ventures in the PMD-200948 system have concluded. Guardian artifacts were delivered to the megaship Glorious Prospect, which was contracted on behalf of the anonymous Salvation, in greater quantities than to the Aegis megaship Archimedes. Patience Middleton congratulated those who supported Taurus Mining Ventures. "This is a clear show of faith in the noble goals of Salvation. As a further sign of our commitment to those goals, we are pleased to provide the top 75% of contributors a specially engineered Class 2 fixed Guardian shard cannon." The Pilots Federation has issued a caution that any ship modules offered by Taurus Mining Ventures will be automatically marked as hot, requiring extra costs to be cleaned prior to installation. 4 federal systems declare independence. The Azelachu Free faction, which controls 4 systems, has seceded from the Federation in protest against civilian surveillance. The unexpected declaration followed the election of new leadership for Azelachu Free, which currently controls the Azelachu, LFT-824, LHS-277 and LTT-3919 systems. Mayor Constanza Noguera announced, "The Federation has become corrupt, authoritarian and untrustworthy. In particular, the public surveillance laws to spy on innocent people cannot be tolerated. From now on, we will govern our systems as independent sovereign nations." Political observers believe that several other federal factions are also planning to declare independence. All are within Shadow President Felicia Winters' sphere of influence, although she has publicly renounced any support of these actions. Congress has stated that secession is illegal under the federal accord and ordered Azelachu Free to revert to normal membership status. The Federal Navy and other military organizations have been placed on alert. President Hudson has reacted strongly, stating that this degree of organized criminal behavior only proves that the Proactive Detection Bureau is needed to maintain order. Shadow President Winters countered by claiming removing our citizens' right to privacy is the cause of this rebellion, not the solution. Imperial Senate considers Marlinist diplomacy. A proposal for the Empire to formally open diplomatic relations with the Marlinist colonies has been made by Senator Lorcan Scordato. The 8 systems are populated by ex-Imperial citizens who fled to avoid persecution for their beliefs in Marlinism, which advocates democratic representation. Returning from a fact-finding mission to the colonies, Senator Scordato told the Senate, "The Marlinist community is primarily focused on peaceful coexistence alongside the Empire, rather than trying to reform the Republic of Akanar. And now that Minister Aaron White speaks for the Neo-Marlinists, we have an opportunity to prevent further extremist actions via diplomacy." Although some senators agreed, others such as Denton Patria stressed that as a matter of honor and principle, the Empire does not negotiate with terrorists. Several news feeds observed that both the Alliance and the Federation are looking into opening formal diplomatic channels with the Marlinist colonies. Similar debates have occurred in the Assembly and Congress regarding the acceptance of an NMLA political wing. First Minister Jenna Fairfax has repeated calls for the Marlinism Reformation Party to cease representing the neo-Marlinist fringe. However, she also announced plans for a Marlinist equivalent to the Imperial Diplomatic Corps that would undertake ambassadorial duties. New Alliance starports become operational. Pilots Federation alert. 2 Alliance stations have been constructed following a successful re-election campaign by Prime Minister Edmund Mark. Enterprise Market in the LHS 2522 system and Prosperity Core in the Shari Sector FWWC119 system are now fully operational. Prime Minister Maan welcomed visitors to the new starport, promising that they would further enhance the Alliance's commitment to creating opportunities. However, Councillor Nagato came trigger to heated debate in the Alliance.
Landing coupler disengaged. Please observe safe speed when traversing the docking bay.
Tritium mining campaign, suggesting that it only received enough deliveries to allow one starport to be built. Furthermore, docking records seem to indicate that Sirius Corporation with a number of unregistered donations. Sirius Corporation now has a presence in the Shari Sector FWWC119 system. This suggests disturbing parallels with the company's recent dealings to help build Archon Delane's new starports. The question is, what did Maan promise in return? A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister clarified,
You are now leaving the control zone. Imperial Flight Operations Bureau wish you a safe onward journey.
Sirius Corporation was one of many companies currently partnered with the Alliance to support its expansion program. It did not address the discrepancy. Deliveries or refer to any contributions from the Megacorp. Detailed surface scanner campaign reaches target. Pilots Federation alert. Pilot delivered commodities to enable Sirius Corporation to mass produce a fully engineered detailed surface scanner. The enhanced ship module will shortly receive a commercial release, having previously only been available during a terraforming initiative by Sirius Atmospherics in May 3306. The engineered detailed surface scanner V1 increases probe coverage to twice the normally achievable range, offering
Incoming mission critical message.
more efficient mapping of planetary surfaces. The project's success was declared by Sinclair Ferrato, Marketing Director for Sirius Corporation. We are most grateful to all pilots who brought us shipments of CMM composites, muon images and synthetic reagents as requested. Mass production of the enhanced detailed surface scanner has already begun, and it will be available for purchase from human technology brokers very soon. All pilots who took part in this campaign can now collect payment from Sirius Corporation at Ashley City in the Loyton star system. Aegis and Salvation compete for Guardian artifacts. Pilots Federation alert. Aegis Research and Taurus Mining Ventures have requested deliveries of Guardian artifacts to the PMD-200948 system. Their rival campaigns follow the discovery of an ancient battleground between the Guardians and the Thargoids on Trapezium Sector YUXC121A. Patience Middleton, representing Taurus Mining Ventures, broadcast this statement. Salvation has claimed the exclusive rights to exploit the Proteus site, which was only discovered because of his specialist knowledge. He has contracted us to pay for Guardian caskets, orbs, relics, tablets, totems and urns brought to the glorious Prospect megaship. Aegis Research has also positioned a megaship, the Archimedes, in the PMD-200948 system. Professor Albert Tesreau announced, "It is vital that Aegis replaces the Guardian artifacts that were lost aboard the Alexandria. Without sufficient materials, our anti-Xeno research program will be severely hampered. We recognize the risk that collecting Guardian technology on a megaship may attract the Thargoids, as happened in the Delphi system. However, this system is much farther from any known areas of Thargoid activity, so we hope to avoid drawing their attention. The Alliance, Empire and Federation consider depriving..."
Delacey, Tango, Hotel, Echo, please follow docking procedures, Commander, and enjoy your stay. Access permitted. Slot booked for approach to landing pad 39. You're approved for automated docking sequence.
Pilots are warned that any ship modules received from Taurus Mining Ventures will be marked as hot, thereby incurring extra costs to be cleaned prior to installation. NMLA makes political overtures. The Marlinism Reformation Party, which now represents the neo-Marlinist fringe, has suggested a peace deal between the NMLA and the Empire. Minister Aaron Watson
Incoming mission critical message.
explained the proposal during a session of the Marlinist Parliament. Via anonymous intermediaries, we have received assurances that the neo-Marlinist
Gear deployed.
Liberation Army is keen to take advantage of our representation. I see this as a hugely positive step that will prevent further conflict. In essence, the NMLA is offering liberation.
Touchdown. Engaging docking sequence. Welcome to the station, Commander.
Casualties of its anti-authority activities within the Empire. In return, it requests a permanent presence in the Imperial Senate as a means of continuing political dialogue. Many other parliamentarians considered the proposal to be highly controversial. Minister Octavia Volko declared, "Providing the NMLA with a political weight, pretending they are reasonable people, suggesting they could pay off the families of everyone they've murdered. White, you are an insult not just to Marlinism but to all humanity." First Minister Jenna Fairfax called for unity, insisting that the Marlinist colonies must stand together to ensure their survival. However, she has officially requested that the Marlinism Reformation Party reverses its stance on negotiating with the NMLA. Corporatists stalled by Jupiter Division's defeat. The fall of Jupiter Division has undermined the popular movement calling for the Federation to be governed by corporations. Conrad Sterling, political journalist for Vox Galactica, reported on developments. Core Dynamics' recent victory in the SAO-TAX system dealt a severe blow to the corporatists. Many companies withdrew their support even before the last shot was fired, and plans for Jupiter Division to become the movement's central organization have been abandoned. Sighs of relief were undoubtedly breathed through the corridors of power on Mars when this threat to the Federation's democratic principles was defeated. And yet, despite Congress downplaying it and many federal news feeds neglecting to cover the story, calls for a corporatocracy have not been completely silenced. Citizens who seek an alternative to voting for either Hudson or Winters are still attracted to the idea. Would corporate rule be more honest? Opinions vary, but many supporters claim big business already possesses true power behind closed doors. It now seems that history will record this as a path not taken. With Jupiter Rochester imprisoned and Jupiter Division dissolved, replacement figureheads for the corporatist movement are unlikely to arise in time to preserve it. Guardian Thargoid battlefield discovered. Pilots Federation alert. An anaconda from the Hesperus megaship has been found at a historical battlefield on the Moon Trapezium sector YUXC121A. The discovery was made by pilots who tracked down a series of signal beacons, following instructions provided by the anonymous Salvation. The beacons were deployed by the Hesperus during its voyage nearly 200 years ago. The anaconda, named Proteus, was one of the megaship's secondary vessels and had been outfitted for long-range exploration. It was used by an Azimuth biochemical science team to flee the Hesperus after the megaship was overtaken by saboteurs from rival company Pharmasapien. Upon landing, the Proteus was converted into a research facility to study the ancient structures and wreckage on the Moon. The proximity of both Guardian and Thargoid technology suggests this was the site of a battle fought by the two civilizations over 1 million years ago, although in 3113 neither species had yet been identified. Professor Albert Tesreau of Aegis Research gave this statement. This is a significant xenoarchaeological find, physical evidence of the war between the Guardians and the Thargoids. Our advance teams are conducting preliminary surveys, and a megaship is being prepared. Following the Alexandria's tragic disappearance, we hope this may serve as a fresh source of Guardian artifacts for our anti-Xeno research program. Materials needed for enhanced ship module. Pilots Federation alert. Sirius Corporation has requested commodities to make a fully engineered detailed surface scanner commercially available.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
The ship module was produced in limited numbers during a terraforming program campaign by Sirius Atmospherics in late 3306. It was awarded to pilots who provided data on worlds with ammonia-based atmospheres for its terraforming program. Sinclair Feraldo, marketing director for Sirius Corporation, provided details. Following a feasibility study, we have determined that this module can be economically mass-produced for general sale. Our fully engineered detailed surface scanner has twice probe coverage, allowing planets and moons to be mapped more efficiently. In order to begin production, we require large quantities of CMM composites, muon images, and synthetic reagents. We will generously reward pilots who can deliver these to Ashby City in the Luyten star system. The engineered detailed surface scanner V1 will be available for purchase to all human technology brokers, assuming that sufficient quantities of commodities can be
Ship is released. Take care when leaving the station.
Electoral reform proposed for the Alliance. Councillor Nakato Kane has suggested that the Alliance's current electoral system should be replaced by direct public voting. The proposal follows a recent election where Prime Minister Edmund Marr was reinstated for a second 6-year term. Addressing the Alliance Assembly, Councillor Kane said, "Only allowing council members to choose the Prime Minister is a flawed system, vulnerable to corruption and outside influence. The people of the Alliance should have a direct mandate to determine their leader by casting individual votes." Political journalist Vanya Driscoll reported for the Alliance Tribune. Although Kane stopped short of claiming that Marr's victory was achieved fraudulently, the Assembly took a dim view of this attempt at electoral overhaul. Some council members accused her of failing to accept that her policies received considerably less support than those of her rival. Despite this, a few accepted that there could be merit in such a restructure. However, organizing public voting across all alliance systems would be much harder than in democracies with a more established infrastructure, such as the Federation, or that have smaller
Frameshift drive charging.
populations, such as the Marlinist colonies. Sirius Corporation, the fourth superpower, the galaxy's largest megacorporation, is continuing to influence the political arena and affect billions of lives. A review was published by Marlon Royce, business analyst for Vox Galactica. With its own government, laws Sirius Corporation resettled Marlinist refugees in their own colony systems, it averted war between the Empire and the Federation. But this seemingly altruistic move enabled CEO Li Yongrui to claim political neutrality, gaining public support to host the Galactic Summit in the Sirius system. That success was undermined by the controversy of granting diplomatic status to pirate warlord Archon Delane. Rumors of secret business dealings were reinforced when Sirius subsidiaries appeared alongside the Kulo crew's new starports. High-level agreements were also made with the Alliance, with Sirius Atmospherics aiding colonization of the Coalsack Nebula. But some believe that its project to terraform ammonia worlds brought retaliatory strikes from the Thargoids and enormous casualties. The latest news is of a collaboration with technology brokers to make a previously limited ship module commercially available. Is this a shrewd business decision, or part of Sirius Corporation's strategy of political dominance? ACT continues to hunt NMLA terrorists. The affiliated counter-terrorism unit has published an update on its investigation into the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez, one of ACT's joint leaders, gave a statement to the media. ACT is currently
crew member disconnected.
Pursuing multiple lines of inquiry, which must remain classified for reasons of security. Our agents are gathering evidence from sites across the Alliance, Empire, and Federation. As yet, we cannot report any significant breakthroughs. NMLA activists appear to use a dark comms network that defies detection. They also compartmentalize their operations, so individual cells have little knowledge of each other. In recent months, NMLA incidents have been restricted to minor strikes against Imperial authorities, which were dealt with by local police forces. There has been no activity by Theta Group, the hardcore extremists responsible for the 9 Martyrs starport bombings. The collapse of the Neo-Marlinist Order of Mudrid may have deprived the NMLA of their logistical capability.
Crew member connected.
Thanks. But it remains possible that a new wave of terrorist atrocities is being planned. ACT later confirmed that it has recruited additional personnel from Alliance Interpol, the Federal Intelligence Agency, the Imperial Internal Security Service.
Dolly Echo Hotel Echo. We've prepared a landing pad for your arrival, Commander. Welcome to our station.
Marlinist Constabulary, Nova Imperium's Praetorian Guard, and the Warglass Investigations Agency.
Permission authorized. Adjust heading for approach to pad 40.
The legacy of the Hesperus. Pilots Federation alert. Commanders in the Chukchan and Percy.
You are clear for automated approach, Commander.
Stark Region KCVC-22 systems have reported being contacted by Salvation. The anonymous individual is known to have an interest in the Adamastor and the Hesperus, the ghost ships within those systems. Both of the derelict megaships were operated 200 years ago by Azimuth Biochemicals. Commander Tyler Thorson told Vox Galactica, "I was taking some sightseers on a trip round the Hesperus and getting as close as I dared to the Scrivener's clan dredger. I scanned the tourist beacon for them, and suddenly received a direct message from this Salvation guy. He asked me to track down some old signal beacons, which are listening posts configured to retransmit long-range comms. Apparently these could help locate the survivors from the megaship. But the Hesperus is ancient history. Surely there can't be anything or anyone left to find? In April, Salvation unofficially recruited independent pilots to locate the Hesperus and to deliver its surviving logs to Taurus Mining Ventures. The Pilots Federation is running an inquiry into Salvation and his associates. Commanders are being cautioned against undertaking tasks for what may be an illegal enterprise. Core Dynamics triumphs against
Landing successful. Dispatching ground crew. Welcome to our starboard, Commander.
Pilots Federation alert. The corporate faction Jupiter Division has been defeated by the Silver Legal Group in the SAO-TAC system. The breakaway faction from Core Dynamics was unable to resist efforts by its parent company to recover ships and resources. Jupiter Division will soon be subsumed by Core Enterprises, a subsidiary of Core Dynamics. Owen McKenna, the CEO of Core Dynamics, declared, "Thanks to the Silver Legal Group and other loyal allies of the Federation, we have finally crushed this criminal enterprise. Let this be an end to the delusions of Jupiter Rochester." Many news feeds believe that Jupiter Division's defeat will have a negative impact on the corporatist movement that has recently emerged within some federal systems. Director Theodore Sullivan of the Silver Legal Group confirmed that those who fought on their side can now collect payments from the Iron Wings of Justice megaship in the SAO-TAC system. Neo-Marlinist political party emerges. Minister Aaron White, leader of the Marlinism Reformation Party, has confirmed that it aims to politically represent the Neo-Marlinist fringe. At a meeting of the Marlinist Parliament, Minister White declared, "Not all of the Neo-Marlinist community seek a violent uprising to end the Duval family's 1,000-year dictatorship. We can help replace desperate acts of rebellion with meaningful dialogue and public pressure." Several news feeds observed that White was attempting to rebrand Neo-Marlinism as being closer to the mainstream ideals of Marlinism. However, the possibility that the faction may now act as the political wing of the NMLA has caused widespread alarm. In related news, a recent election in the Hyades sector ROPB-62 system saw voters remove the Marlinism Reformation Party from power after it granted asylum to survivors from the Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid. The system's new leader, Minister Octavia Volkov of the exiled Marlinist Assembly of Baltimore, announced, "My party believes in following Marlin Duval's example by building independent democracies, rather than reforming the empire. However,
Ship restraints withdrawn. Watch for oncoming traffic when passing through the airlock.
We urgently need support to keep the dream of a Marlinist republic alive." Aegis megaship vanishes in hyperspace. The Alexandria has failed to arrive in the HIP 30944 system as scheduled, and may have been hyperdicted by the Thargoids. The Aegis-owned megaship triggered an attack by Thargoid vessels when it traveled from the Delphi system to HIP 16538 on the 20th of May. Aegis believes this was caused by the large quantity of Guardian artifact in its cargo hold. To reduce the risk of further casualties, the Alexandria plotted a route to a low-population prison colony in the HIP 30944 system. All independent ships
Frameshift drive charging.
undocked before it made the hyperspace jump on the 3rd of June. However, the megaship never reached its arrival point and all communication with it has ceased. Search teams in local systems have not detected its presence. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison of Aegis, informed the media, "We regret to announce a complete loss of contact with the Alexandria. Although there is
Mission detected.
no evidence of damage or destruction, its disappearance
Fuel scoping.
while traveling through hyperspace raises the possibility that it was intercepted en route by Thargoid forces. Captain Jacob Morales and over 4,000 crew members will be listed as missing presumed dead. In addition to this great tragedy, Aegis
Copy, Commander. Bringing the fighter back to the bay now. Fighter safely in the hold.
Frameshift drive charging. Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
Fighter safely in the hold.
Frameshift drive charging.
down. We lost the link, Commander. Telepresence link is offline. We've lost it, Commander.
Fighter requesting to dock.
Fighters locked up tight. Bay is secure.
Fighter shields offline.
Telepresence link is offline. We've lost it, Commander.
Fighter shields offline.
Fighter destroyed. I hope your insurance is up to date, Commander.
Fighter deployed. Fighter deployed. dock. Scan detected. Shields offline. Scan detected.
Telepresence link is offline. We've lost you, Commander. Fighter destroyed. I hope your insurance is up to date, Commander. Fighter's locked up tight. Bay is secure.
Scan detected.
Fighters safely in the hold.
Comply. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fighter is stowed away, Commander. We're good to go.
Frameshield drive charging.
lockdown. Enjoy your stay, Commander. Your comfort is our top priority.
Dedicated, providing a safe and peaceful people. Our security agent stands ready to maintain the call. Once your vessel receives docking permission, your promptness in arriving greatly exceeds.
Incoming message. Telepresence crew member disconnected. Incoming message.
The Empire. Introduction. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. Shakespeare, Hamlet.
When our ancestors departed Earth, they asked themselves, which of our achievements represents the best of humanity, that we may bring it with us to illumine the darkness? The Federation, embroiled in a world of contracts and petty bickering, chose their constitution. They placed their trust not in man himself, but in an imperfect work of man. But my ancestor, your first emperor, was wiser. He knew that the best achievement of humanity was humanity itself. There was more wisdom in a single nucleotide of his noble DNA than in all the Federation's written texts. That same guides us now. We need no dusty documents to assert our right. We are human, born to rule. And the universe awaits the firm hand of our governance.
Emperor Trascan Duval II. Undelivered draft speech written
Frameshift drive charging.
immediately before his sudden and unexplained death. The Empire, while younger than the Federation, is easily the equal of its historic rival in terms of scale and resources. The key social distinction between the two powers is that slavery in the Empire is legal, a fact that has remained a source of controversy since its inception, within the Empire and without. Some observers have pointed out, however, the conditions for those at the lowest levels of society are far worse than those experienced by imperial slaves. The popular image of the Empire is one of opulence, but while pomp and pageantry may be the norm in the core imperial systems, elsewhere in imperial space, one can find myriad examples of deprivation and squalor. Indeed, the Empire encompasses many striking contrasts. Sophisticated technology exists alongside an ancient Roman system of government, and the affluence of the core worlds depends on often unregulated slave labor in the wretched outer colonies. Ruthless industrial efficiency and low taxation has made the Empire rich and mighty. The hierarchy of Imperial society is rigid, but a citizen can always rise through the ranks if he or she becomes wealthy enough and makes the right connections. Even a slave could, in theory, become a senator. The Empire. History. The Achenar colony was founded. In the mid-23rd century, wealthy entrepreneur Marlene Duval was so frustrated with the federal government that she founded an independent colony of her own in the Achenar system, chosen for its remoteness. When Marlene was killed shortly afterwards in a flyer accident, her brother Henson Duval took over as ruler. Henson Duval, the Emperor. Duval immediately abolished the fledgling democracy that Marlene had set up, and in its place he established a system modelled on ancient Rome. He was now Emperor, and his closest allies were his senators. Any colonists who might have objected were forced into silent compliance with Duval's vision. Such were his wealth and power. It was also widely believed that Marlene Duval, like Remus in ancient Rome, had been killed by her own brother. Nobody dared to speak out. The Mudlark extinction. The colonists were aware that the planet they had settled, Achenar 6D, had indigenous life, but at first it wasn't appreciated that this included a sentient species, nicknamed the Mudlarks after they were observed digging through riverbank mud in search of food. Although the Mudlarks were at a pre-agricultural stage of development, they appear to have developed the beginnings of language. They also created crude forms in molded clay.
Delisi, Tango, Hotel, Echo. Thank you for choosing this Imperial station.
No obvious practical purpose, possibly indicating a nascent artistic culture. The Mudlarks proved fatally vulnerable to the bacteria carried by the colonists, and within a few decades of the colony's founding, the species was extinct. Rumors subsequently emerged that Henson Duval had purposefully removed all traces of the Mudlarks, partly in fear of federal reprisal, and partly to ensure that his development plans would not be hindered by ecological constraints. The Federation attempted to reclaim Achenar. When the federal government heard rumors that Duval's colony had recklessly caused the destruction of a
Request approved. You may now proceed to landing pad 10.
sentient indigenous species, they decided on military intervention. The Imperial ships beat back the federal attackers, who were unable to establish a beachhead among the airless outer worlds, and struggled to maintain supply lines so far from Earth.
Ready for automated docking sequence.
The Federal forces eventually fell back and entrenched in the Beta Hydri system. Skirmishes with Imperial ships continued for the next 50 years, but these were unable to prevent Duval from expanding the Empire to many other worlds. The Age of Expansion. After hostilities with the Federation ceased, the Empire entered a century of growth, annexing many new systems and persuading others to join. It spent the following 2 centuries consolidating its new territory, appointing colonial administrators from among the noble houses of Achenar. The Empire. Society. An ancient Roman model. The Empire works on a clean system. Society is divided into tiers: Emperor, senators, patrons, clients, and then citizens, with slaves below these. Groups of patrons pledge their support to a given senator, offering military service, tax revenue, and the right to wield the patrons' votes in the Senate on their behalf. In return, the patrons are granted a measure of protection and material security, as well as having their interests represented in the Imperial Senate. Senators are responsible for deciding tax rates and welfare systems for their patrons, meaning that the lower a given senator's tax rates...
Landing successful. Please shut down systems.
the more patrons he is likely to attract. This is far from being a patron's only concern, however. Loyalty over time, ideological compatibility, family connections, and discreet private deals can all play a part in deciding which senator to back. The system extends downward through the tiers in a similar fashion, with clients pledging themselves to given patrons, and citizens pledging themselves to given clients. The votes held by the patrons actually comprise the total votes of all the clients pledged to them. Similarly, the votes held by those clients comprise the total votes of their pledged citizens. Patrons are therefore capable of investing variable degrees of power in their chosen senators, with the result that some senators are more powerful than others. Senators are responsible for those below them, meaning that everyone has a form of social security, at least in theory. Indeed, many senators take pride in the security they offer their citizens. Some have even been known to drain material wealth from small independent worlds and pump it back into the capital economy, allowing them to reduce citizens' taxes and giving them
Restraints removed. All clear, Commander.
Patrons are free to withdraw their patronage from their chosen senator, placing the onus on the senator to represent them satisfactorily or face a loss of voting power. Rigid stratification. The division between social classes is formal, unambiguous, and strict. But there is a clear path to advancement. A person can pay a fee and petition for admittance to the rank above. In this way, slaves can become citizens too. The law is not the same for all. Senators have a responsibility to enforce the law, and they must obey the Emperor's decree, but are otherwise above the law. A senator can even carry out executions personally with little, if any, fear of consequence. The Empire. Introduction. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension. How like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. Shakespeare, Hamlet.
When our ancestors departed Earth, they asked themselves, which of our achievements represents the best of humanity, that we may bring it with us to illumine the darkness? The Federation, embroiled in a world of contracts and petty bickering, chose their constitution. They placed their trust not in man himself, but in an imperfect work of man. But my ancestor, your first emperor, was wiser. He knew that the best achievement of humanity was humanity itself. There was more wisdom in a single nucleotide of his noble DNA than in all the Federation's written texts. That same wisdom still guides us now. We need no dusty documents to assert our right. We are human, born to rule. And the universe awaits the firm hand of our governance.
Emperor Trascan Duval II, undelivered draft speech written immediately before his sudden and unexplained death. The Empire, while younger than the Federation, is easily the equal of its historic rival in terms of scale and resources. The key social distinction between the two powers is that slavery in the Empire is legal, a fact that has remained a source of controversy since its inception, both within the Empire and without. Some observers have pointed out, however, that conditions for the those at the lowest levels of federal society are far worse than those experienced
Objective detected.
by imperial slaves. The popular image of the Empire is one of opulence. But while pomp and pageantry may be the norm in the core Imperial systems, elsewhere in Imperial space, one can find myriad examples of deprivation and squalor. Indeed, the Empire encompasses many striking contrasts. Sophisticated technology exists alongside an ancient Roman system of government, and the affluence of the core worlds depends on often unregulated slave labor in the wretched outer colonies. Ruthless industrial efficiency and low taxation has made the Empire rich and mighty. The hierarchy of Imperial society is rigid, but a citizen can always rise through the ranks if he or she becomes wealthy enough and makes the right connections. Even a slave could, in theory, become a senator. The Empire. History. The Achenar. In the mid-23rd century, wealthy entrepreneur Marlene Duval was so frustrated with the federal government that she founded an independent colony of her own in the Achenar system, chosen for its remoteness. When Marlene was killed shortly afterwards in a flyer accident, her brother Henson Duval took over as ruler. Henson Duval, the Emperor. Duval immediately abolished the fledgling democracy that Marlene had set up, and in its place, he established a system modelled on ancient Rome. He was now emperor, and his closest allies were his senators. Any colonists who might have objected were forced into silent compliance with Duval's vision. Such were his wealth and power. It was also widely believed that Marlene Duval, like Remus in ancient Rome, had been killed by her own brother. Nobody dared to speak out. The Mudlark extinction. The colonists were aware that the planet they had settled, Achenar 6D, had indigenous life. But at first, it wasn't appreciated that this included a sentient species, nicknamed the Mudlarks after they were observed digging through riverbank mud in search of food. Although the Mudlarks were at a pre-agricultural stage of development, they appear to have developed the beginnings of language. They also created crude forms in molded clay, with no obvious practical purpose, possibly indicating a nascent artistic culture. The Mudlarks proved fatally vulnerable to the bacteria carried by the colonists, and within a few decades of the colony's founding, the species was extinct. Rumors subsequently emerged that Henson Duval had purposefully removed all traces of the Mudlarks, partly in fear of federal reprisal, and partly to ensure that his development plans would not be hindered by ecological constraints. The Federation attempted to reclaim Achenar. When the federal government heard rumors that Duval's colony had recklessly caused the destruction of a sentient indigenous species, they decided on military intervention. The Imperial ships beat back the federal attackers, who were unable to establish a beachhead among the airless outer worlds, and struggled to maintain supply lines so far from Earth. The federal forces eventually fell back and entrenched in the Beta Hydri system. Skirmishes with Imperial ships continued for the next 50 years, but these were unable to prevent Duval from expanding the Empire to many other worlds. The Age of Expansion. After hostilities with the Federation ceased, the Empire entered a century of growth, annexing many new systems and persuading others to join. It spent the following 2 centuries consolidating its new territory, appointing colonial administrators from among the noble houses of Achenar. The Empire. Society. An ancient Roman model. The Empire works on a clean system. Society is divided into tiers: Emperor, senators, patrons, clients, and then citizens, with slaves below these. Groups of patrons pledge their support to a given senator, offering military service, tax revenue, and the right to wield the patron's votes in the Senate on their behalf. In return, the patrons are granted a measure of protection and material security, as well as having their interests represented in the Imperial Senate. Senators are responsible for deciding tax rates and welfare systems for their patrons, meaning that the lower a given senator's tax rates, the more patrons he is likely to attract. This is far from being a patron's only concern, however. Loyalty?
Roger that. I'm booting up the fighter.
Over time, ideological compatibility, family connections, and...
Fighter is now active. Standing by.
Discreet private deals can all play a part in deciding which senator to back. The system extends downward through the tiers in a similar fashion, with clients pledging themselves to given patrons, and citizens pledging themselves to given clients. The votes held by the patrons actually comprise the total votes of all the clients pledged to them.
Frameshift charge detected.
Similarly, the votes held by those clients comprise the total votes of their pledged citizens. Patrons investing very little in their chosen senators, with the result that some senators are
That's all of them. I love a skirmish, don't you, Commander?
Just in theory. Indeed, many senators take pride in the security they offer their citizens. Some have even been known to drain material wealth from small independent worlds and pump it back into the capital economy, allowing them to reduce citizens' taxes and giving their own popularity a considerable boost. Patrons are free to withdraw their patronage from their chosen senator, placing the onus on the senator to present satisfaction or face a loss of voting power. Rigid stratification. The division between social classes is formal, unambiguous, and strict. But there is a clear path to advancement. A person can pay a fee and petition for admittance to the rank above. In this way, slaves can become citizens too. The law is not the same for all. Senators have a responsibility to enforce the law, and they must obey the Emperor's decree, but are otherwise above the law. A senator can even carry out executions personally, with little, if any, fear of consequence. The Empire. Military. The Imperial Navy. Maintaining a modernized navy has always been a top priority for the Empire. The ever-present threat posed by the Federation has driven previous emperors to empty the coffers again and again for fear of being outstripped in the arms race. More recently, funding has come from wealthy individual senators, many of whom are all too eager to gain influence within the Navy. Indeed, there has been claimed that devastating planetary mining has been carried out in order to further this cause. The Facisi system is arguably the most significant Imperial naval base. Many officers are housed on the world of Topaz, while Peter's Reg is home to the training centers. As well as the battle fleets, the Imperial Navy maintains a subdivision dedicated to exploring the fringes of known space. The Emperor's Own. Genetic engineering is not officially tolerated in the Empire, but it does sometimes take place. One notable example is the Emperor's Own, a group of genetically engineered super soldiers deployed during the shock invasion of Mansfield Colony in the Leadler system in 2959. They proved brutally efficient, overrunning the Federal defenses in a mere 2 hours and inflicting a rare defeat upon a Federal Gurkha regiment. The Empire, culture and values. The human body represents perfection. This belief, once held with near religious intensity, still forms the bedrock of the Empire's culture and morals. Genetic modification is frowned upon, but a degree of genetic correction is known to take place, supposedly to correct defects such as vulnerability to certain
Copy, Commander. Bringing the fighter back to the bay now.
diseases. The belief in the sanctity of the human body originates with the first emperor, Henson de Val. While he did not claim to be literally descended from the gods in the manner of Roman emperors of old, he declared that his own image was the paradigm to which others ought to aspire. households across the empire were required to display a statue or bust of the emperor in a place of honor. Imperial citizens are therefore expected to shun habits that corrupt or defile the human body, such as excessive indulgence in narcotics. The ownership of slaves, by contrast, is tolerated in the same way that the ownership of
Fighters safely in the hold.
any beautiful work of art is tolerated. Mistreatment of slaves is thus akin to vandalism. Keeping one's own
Frameshift drive charging.
body in peak condition and adorning it with jewels and expensive clothes is not vanity, but duty. And owning well-treated slaves is also considered a sign of good character. The emperor's word is supreme. The emperor's successor is decided by the Senate, although the devoured dynasty has such a strong power base that the imperial throne has only ever been occupied by members of the bloodline. For generations, genetic selection ensured that the emperor's Larissa Lavini de Val is the first woman to hold the throne. Marlene de Val is sometimes described as the empire's first female ruler, but this is incorrect. The colony she founded was a democracy. Honor is everything. The value placed on honor is a constant throughout all tiers of imperial society. Honor can be lost through various means, including leaving debts unpaid, failing to respect a superior or provide for a dependent, breaking a solemn vow, conducting combat with cowardly weapons such as nerve gas, and defiling one's own body. Slavery is acceptable, but slaves must be well treated. In the Empire, it is not uncommon for the poor and disenfranchised to sign up for a period of military service in exchange for a small sum of money. A similar logic applies to imperial slavery, to the extent that someone might sell themselves into slavery to clear a debt and restore their honor. Selling oneself into slavery is a straightforward legal process and results in a guaranteed sum of money for one's family, so it is a popular option for the desperate. In practice, however, many find that it takes much longer than expected to clear their debts. People are also forced into slavery against their will. Sometimes a senator will sentence a person of lower rank to be stripped of citizenship and designated as a slave. But it is more common to impose a fine of such magnitude that the citizen has no recourse but to sell his or herself into slavery. Slaves may also be taken prisoner following a conflict, abducted from their home, or even captured in a hijacking. While trading slaves is lawful everywhere in the Empire, except on Emerald, taking new slaves outside of wartime is illegal, without the blessing of a senator. The Empire. Diplomatic relations. The Federation. Resentment of the Federation runs deep in the Empire. The superpower is remembered as an oppressive, interfering force that hypocritically avoids inflicting the slightest harm on non-human life, but thinks nothing of forcibly imposing its values on its fellow humans, and lacking the freedoms and social customs that the Empire values so dearly. While open hostility has frequently been the case in the past, the current situation is one of grudging coexistence, beneath which mistrust simmers. Despite this antipathy, the Empire cooperated with the Federation in a series of joint initiatives against the Thargoids in the early 3300s. The Alliance. When the Alliance was founded in 3230, following a bitter conflict with the Empire and the Federation, multiple systems defected to it from both superpowers. To the surprise of many, the Empire took very little further retributive action, partly because of the ill health of the Emperor of the time, and partly due to a belief that the defecting systems would return to their natural home, sooner or later. The Empire's current attitude to the Alliance is one of studied contempt. To recognize it as a threat would be too much like showing respect. Internal politics. Unsurprisingly for a society so concerned with rank and influence, the Empire contains a multitude of feuding power blocks. In particular, There is a good deal of bad blood between the various noble houses, whose values range from hardcore traditionalist to staunch reformist. The Imperial Senate is no longer as overshadowed by the Emperor as it once was, and has gained sufficient strength to act as a counterbalance to the Emperor's political will. The individual character of the Emperor still determines the Empire's overall direction, however, and the suggestion that the Empire should evolve out of its old ways has proven deeply divisive. The Thargoids. Human Thargoid. The Thargoids are a non-human race with a history of hostility towards humanity. The first recorded...
Lady, Tango Hotel Echo. We are honored to welcome you to this Imperial station.
encounter with a Thargoid ship took place in 2849, although earlier undocumented encounters are believed to have taken place. In the years that followed, contact with lone Thargoid vessels was intermittently reported. Humanity clashed with the Thargoids in the 32nd century, but details of the conflict remained scarce for many years, and it proved difficult to differentiate authentic accounts of Thargoid encounters from the sensationalist media stories of the time. The discovery of abandoned intergalactic Naval Reserve arm bases in 3303 did much to dispel the fog, however. The INRA, a joint federal imperial initiative established in 3193, was responsible for researching the Thargoids and developing technologies to counter their aggression. But the organization's lack of accountability meant that the details of its research did not come to light until years after its dissolution. Almost all of the reliable data concerning the Thargoids has been sourced from INRA facilities. This data, originally deemed highly confidential, was declassified in 3304, following a resolution from the federal government and an imperial decree. Some controversy over the backing and funding of the INRA remains, however. The Thargoids. Society. The INRA discovered that Thargoid society is organized into hives, with most Thargoids falling into three categories: queens, princesses, and drones. Queens function as reproducers, while drones serve to maintain a favorable environment for the rest of the hive. Thargoid hives can be vast, although it may be that some of the larger observed groups are in fact multiple, overlapping hives. Ultimately, little is known for sure. The average Thargoid queen is at least as intelligent as a human being, while the typical drone possesses a more rudimentary level of intelligence. Existing evidence suggests...
Request approved. Please set down at bay 2-4. Ready for automated docking
extremely
sequence.
long lifespans, living for hundreds or even thousands of years. The variable size of queens' neurocraniums suggests this might be an indicator of age. Little is known about the precise nature of Thargoid reproduction, but it is likely that queens can reproduce both sexually with other queens and asexually. It is thought that the latter method produces drones, while the former produces a new queen. Analysis of Thargoid specimens led some INRA researchers to believe that a new queen, or princess, becomes a full queen only once it has produced drones of its own. Significantly, queens are believed to be single-sex. The Thargoids' ability to reproduce asexually means that their populations can expand incredibly, but it is thought that they deliberately restrict the size of the populace so as to not to deplete all available resources. There is evidence to suggest that this is sometimes achieved by culling older drones. INRA testing indicated that queens perceive drones as entirely presumably due to the ease with which they can be replaced. Indeed, a Thargoid queen appears to give no more thought to raising a drone than a human. The Thargoids.
Docking is completed. Please shut down systems.
The belief that Thargoids were capable of some form of extrasensory communication was often cited in the early years of human-Thargoid interaction, but prior to the discovery of INRA records, it was not fully understood. Professor Yuri Ansel theorized that a Thargoid crew can communicate with drones in time via a spread-spectrum electronic signal, and can use this signal to control the drones, and even to share their sensory input. Studies of battlefield footage certainly suggest some kind of near-instantaneous communication among Thargoids, and the presence of low-level radio noise in areas occupied by Thargoids indicates that they do indeed communicate via short-range electronic signals. Professor Anslow went on to claim that a queen could effectively see and hear through its drones, but her contemporaries were skeptical, dismissing the assertion as baseless. Professor Ishmael Palin, one of the galaxy's foremost experts on the Thargoids, has even gone so far as to denounce Anslow as a glory hound. Thargoids have been known to make staccato clicking noises with their mouthparts when in the presence of humans, punctuated with occasional hisses and buzzes. They've also been observed directing such noises at one another, albeit much less frequently. Professor Albert Tesreau, a founding member of the Joint Superpower Initiative, AEGIS, and a specialist in interspecies communication, has studied INRA audio logs and suggested that the sounds probably represent some kind of language due to the repetition of certain sound combinations. It is unclear why the Thargoids would sometimes choose to communicate with each other vocally, given their capacity for extrasensory communication. Professor Anslow suggested that the sounds could be designed to intimidate enemies or opponents, noting that Thargoids often produce them prior to combat. Thargoid ships have been observed emitting a complex array of sounds, and in some cases subtly changing color. The exact meaning of these behaviors has not been determined, but they appear to correspond to different emotional states. What is not known is if these sounds are produced by the pilot and amplified by the ship, or emitted by the ship itself. If the sounds originate with the pilot, it would suggest some kind of physiological connection between pilot and vessel. Given the sophistication of Thargoid bioengineering, however, it is possible that the sounds come from the ship itself, and that Thargoid ships are able to feel and communicate to a limited degree. The hulls of Thargoid ships are typically emblazoned with one of several symbols, the meaning of which is unknown. Some have theorized that they could denote membership of a particular familial group, or possibly be an indicator of rank. The Thargoids. Physiology. Human understanding of Thargoid physiology is far from complete, but recovered INRA data has offered some insights into their nature. INRA records describe the average Thargoid as physically larger than a human being, and generally insectoid in appearance. Thargoid biology is carbon-based, using an RNA-like encoding for biological information, but Thargoid chemistry is based on ammonia rather than water. Consequently, while Thargoids can comfortably tolerate environments as cold as -80 degrees Celsius, they cannot withstand environments warmer than 45 degrees Celsius for long. According to notes compiled by Dr. Peregrine Hennig, an INRA researcher, Thargoids can survive for a significant time in the vacuum of space without apparent discomfort, and can tolerate radiation and extreme cold for far longer than a human. The Thargoids. Vulnerabilities. In 3151, the INRA developed a biological weapon known as the mycoid virus for use against the Thargoids. The virus was the result of an accidental discovery made by an INRA researcher, who noted that a particular strain of fungus was found to thrive on the hulls of Thargoid vessels, and appeared to be digesting the material of which the ship was made. The INRA refined the fungal strain and began experimenting on living Thargoids in their spacecraft. The mycoid proved to have deleterious effects on both, leading to the swift elimination of the Thargoids active in human-occupied space at the time. It is widely assumed that since the last human-Thargoid conflict, the Thargoids have developed an immunity to the mycoid virus. The Thargoids. Starships. In terms of structure and function, Thargoid vessels are radically different from anything produced by humanity, and are able to navigate hyperspace in ways that are not fully understood. They are also at least partly organic, meaning that they can self-repair or heal over time. Ship function in general, and this restorative ability in particular, have been shown to be dependent upon the so-called Thargoid heart, a biomechanical organ found in varying quantities in different Thargoid ships. These hearts often survive the destruction of the ship, enabling them to be salvaged, although they can also be targeted and damaged with appropriate weaponry. They are highly corrosive, however, and require special containers for safe transport. Thargoid vessels that have sustained combat damage exhibit scar-like patterns. Given that Thargoid technology is sophisticated enough for such damage to be repaired, it follows that the Thargoids might deliberately choose to preserve these scars. INRA logs document an encounter with a Thargoid mothership many times larger than other Thargoid craft, against which the mycoid virus was successfully deployed, although no such vessels have been reported in recent times. The Thargoids. Structures. Dozens of planets in human-occupied space are peppered with Thargoid barnacles, biological resource extractors that convert minerals into meta-alloys, a key component in the creation of Thargoid vehicles and technology. Theories that these barnacles have been genetically engineered by the Thargoids have yet to be verified. Larger structures, referred to as Thargoid surface sites, have also been discovered. These sites typically consist of a spiral-shaped structure, nestling within a shallow crater, beneath which lies a series of tunnels. At the heart of this subsurface network is a device that, once activated, emits a holographic star map. The sites are patrolled by semi-sentient biomechanical entities called scavengers. The Thargoids. War with the Guardians. Archaeological records have revealed that the extinct, non-human civilization known as the Guardians experienced conflict with the Thargoids many thousands of years ago. Logs recovered from Guardian sites indicate that the Thargoids were the aggressor in this conflict. Having seeded Guardian space with biomechanical constructs used for resource extraction long before the emergence of the Guardian civilization, the Thargoids apparently believed they were entitled to uncontested dominion of the territory. The Guardians attempted to communicate with the Thargoids and reach a compromise, but without success. Over the course of the conflict, the Guardians developed new technologies to give them an advantage against the Thargoids. These technologies were apparently successful, forcing the Thargoids to abandon their offensive. The Thargoids. Agenda. Thargoids do not attack indiscriminately, and their choice of targets shows them to be highly intelligent. They have also conducted targeted strikes on Aegis facilities and attacked pilots carrying Thargoid items in their cargo holds, indicating that they know they are being studied and want to halt the process. But despite their evident intelligence, they appear to be completely uninterested in meaningful communication. The engineer Ramtar, who has extensively researched the Guardians and their war with the Thargoids, holds the view that Thargoid aggression is a product of territorialism. They seed an area with barnacles, thus laying claim to it, and return, sometimes many centuries later, to harvest the extracted resources. Any life form advanced enough to compete with them for the territory is treated as an enemy and summarily attacked. Professor Palin concurs with this view, adding that the Thargoids are apparently so determined to eliminate any threats to their long-term survival, they will not tolerate any advanced species in close proximity. Corporations. The grandest society of merchants in the universe. Self-applied description of the East India Company, 1600 to 1708. Corporations. Introduction. During the centuries in which humanity was confined to a single planet, corporations were naturally limited in size and influence, like fish in a bowl. With access to a finite quantity of natural resources and a relatively small arena in which to compete, corporations could not achieve their full theoretical potential. But with the advent of interstellar travel, the fishbowl became an ocean. Corporations could access and exploit entire planets for their mineral resources, and an expanding population, eagerly colonizing system after system, meant a growing customer base. To the governments of the time, the potential for corporate growth was both thrilling and terrifying. Commercial prosperity meant increased tax revenue, and higher employment figures, but also raised the worrying prospect of security fleets that could rival the official militaries. It seemed inevitable that the largest corporations would, in time, become the equivalent of nation-states in their own right. With the old restrictions gone, there was simply nothing to stop them. Today, this vision has been partly fulfilled, with several corporations owning entire systems. For many corporate employees, the age-old distinction between a home and a workplace has vanished. Workers on corporate-owned ships, refineries, and outposts can expect to spend their entire lives in the embrace of the company. Despite their immense wealth and power, the corporations have thus far been content to operate within and remain subject to the jurisdictions of the Alliance, Empire, and Federation, rather than mount a serious challenge to any of them. Commentators point to two reasons for this. Firstly, corporations thrive by excelling in their chosen fields, and assuming the onerous responsibilities of a government would be a wasteful distraction from the corporate mission. Secondly, given that the corporations already hold much of the real power, especially in the Federation, there is nothing to be gained by abolishing the convenient veneer of the state. Better to operate below the surface, make a show of compliance, and trust in the power of money to smooth the way forward. Corporations. The Achilles Corporation. Optimize, iterate, refine. Achilles is the market leader in computer technology and is particularly noted for developing the reliable, efficient navigation computers used by most starships. The fear of a hyperspace misjump following a computer malfunction, a nightmare scenario that Achilles capitalized on in its advertising, helped to cultivate strong brand loyalty in the company's early days. Achilles is also a pioneer in the field of robotics, meaning it has long been hampered by the interstellar ban on the development of self-aware artificial intelligence.
Uncoupling at your earliest convenience.
To circumvent these restrictions by placing organically grown brains in robotic bodies. No evidence of any such activity has come to light, and Achilles board members have not deigned to dignify the rumors with a response. There has also been speculation that the company's leaders are extensively cybernetically enhanced, given their history of uncompromising takeovers and corporate machinations. Even their open business operations are characterized by ruthless efficiency, while their private dealings are rumored to involve everything from the blackmail of rival executives to assassination. Achilles' official line is that these rumors are sheer fantasy and a predictable, envious response to success. Nonetheless, the rumors persist, and Achilles' reputation is now so daunting that smaller corporations will roll over at the first sign of a takeover bid, rather than attempt to negotiate for better terms. Nobody wants to become the subject of a career-ending rumor. Corporations. Kane Massey. Because an honest day's work never goes out of fashion. Kane Massey stands as an example of the power of rebranding. During the fiercely competitive era that followed the first migration from Earth, the company's original incarnation, Howlett, Kane and Calvert, rapidly established itself as a profitable mining concern. Through a combination of nepotism and bribery, HC&C secured a federal guarantee of mining rights across several systems, with the caveat that failure to exploit the resources within a set time frame would result in forfeiture. In order to set up their mining operations as quickly as possible, HC&C cut corners on safety, skimped on equipment quality, and made exorbitant promises to potential employees, promises that were later defaulted on. Workplace accidents, which were frequent, were hushed up. By the time these problems came to light, HC&C was a household name, and the fallout was severe. Token attempts at recompense were made, but the company's public image was badly tarnished. A merger with struggling but respected logistics firm Massey Haulage gave HC&C an opportunity to reinvent itself as the local mining company. The rebranded corporation, Kane Massey, presented itself as a salt-of-the-earth, blue-collar operation, whose hard-working employees were treated with dignity. In an uncertain universe, so the advertisements ran, Kane Massey would always be there for you. The campaign was a huge success. Today, Kane Massey is now widely perceived as an old-fashioned company that both understands and sticks for the working man and woman. But despite this wholesome image, and although safety standards have improved, the company is as positive and concerned with expansion as ever. Corporations, core dynamics, unmatched interstellar supremacy. Core Dynamics is a giant conglomerate, best known as one of the galaxy's manufacturers of weapon and surveillance systems and starships, with a particular focus on combat vessels. Its product line ranges from the diminutive Eagle to the gargantuan Farragut-class battlecruiser, and also includes the most popular skimmer in the galaxy, the S4 Sentry. The company is known for its occasional discount events, offering reduced-cost ships either in celebration of a new design or as incentives for participation in a community endeavor. Core Dynamics has a long-standing supply agreement with the Federation and is responsible for the Federal Assault Ship, Corvette, Dropship, and Gunship. As part of this relationship,
Frameshift drive charging.
the company benefits from privileged access to federal black box data reserves, which it uses in its research and development branch. In the ongoing quest for more robust and effective ship designs, there is no substitute for data gleaned from genuine combat encounters. Corporations, Falcon DeLacy, bridging the stars for half a millennium. Falcon Manspace, originally a military supply company, experienced an overnight reversal of function when it released the Viper fighter, which proved popular with governments and private citizens alike. Indeed, demand was so high that Falcon Manspace had to farm out Viper production to other companies under license. With wealth came innovation and a range of new designs. Like the Viper, these new ships were named after dangerous snakes. The Cobra marked the company's entry into the trader market, while the lightweight, versatile Sidewinder was designed principally as a reconnaissance craft. As the company's wealth grew, it began to absorb many of the companies to which it had previously granted manufacturing contracts. In almost all cases, the target company's close working relationship with Falcon Manspace made such acquisitions frictionless and mutually beneficial. In 2982, the corporation merged with one of the largest such manufacturers, DeLacy Shipworks, becoming Falcon DeLacy. The company pioneered the now standard modular system of ship design that allows pilots to swap out components with ease. Significantly, the company made the schematics for the modular system freely available to its manufacturing rivals, broadening the choice of compatible modules available to pilots, and thus making the Falcon DeLacy marks more popular. Without this philosophy of component compatibility, spacecraft maintenance might have become a nightmarish scenario in which being unable to get the proper parts could leave a broken-down ship stranded in dry dock for weeks, or worse, subject to botched repair attempts. Today, Falcon DeLacy stands out as one of the most enduring, widespread, and consistently admired corporations in colonized space. Public regard for the company is so high that the Alliance, Empire, and Federation have all made attempts to secure exclusivity to Falcon DeLacy starships. Thus far, their efforts have been unsuccessful. Corporation Gutamaya, effortless elegance. Ship manufacturer Gutamaya enjoys a supply agreement.
LAC Tango Hotel Echo. This is the Flight Operations Department. Please comply with established docking procedures, Commander.
The Empire, similar to that between Cord.
Request approved. Prep for arrival on landing badge 40. Automated
Dynamics of the
docking
Federation.
approved.
Gutamaya is a far younger company, however, and was in fact created by the Empire. The company's ships are considered to embody imperial opulence and are instantly recognizable for their sleek contours and distinctive silhouettes. Imperial Gutamaya was chartered by Emperor Galen Trascan de Val in 3000 as part of a formal celebration of the millennium.
Scan detected.
In line with the Emperor's vision of an imperial renaissance in art, design, and architecture. The company's remit, overseen by shipwrights Jordan Blakestow and sculptor Amita Gutamaya, was to produce a line of ships that will combine functional excellence with a distinct visual style. These would be offered for a limited period to select members of imperial noble houses as a mark of the
Landing gear deployed.
Emperor's favor. Amita Gutamaya's involvement was immediately apparent, a reputation having been established through well-regarded public artworks incorporating graceful, contoured forms. This helped to drive public demand for ships, which became sought after status symbols. Demand was so high that owners were forced to hire squadrons of mercenary
Landing successful. Clear to disembark.
escorts to prevent hijack. The Emperor promptly ordered Imperial Gutamaya to go into full-time production and to make part of its range available for general purchase. From its inception, Gutamaya has employed a coterie of accomplished Imperial artisans to ensure that their ships continue to reflect Amita Gutamaya's aesthetic principles. When, in 3006, Amita
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Gutamaya died in unexplained circumstances, she was interned in the Gutamaya family crypt on Akanar 6B. Corporations. Lakon Spaceways. Hard-working ships for hard-working people. Lakon Spaceways is a starship manufacturer specializing in sturdy vessels for cargo haulage and deep space exploration. They have a longer pedigree than most other ship manufacturers. Their first dedicated transport vessel having been built on Earth in the 26th century. The company's early models were characterized by the fact that they could be easily repaired away from port.
Landing gear retracted.
Quality that has been retained to this day, despite the prevalence of affordable repair services. In 3303, Lakon entered into partnership with the Alliance to produce a range of military ships in response to the emerging Tharmite threat. As of 3304, this partnership has produced the Type 10 Defender, the Alliance Chieftain, the Alliance Crusader, and the Alliance Challenger. Lakon vessels tend to garner both praise and derision for their unpretentious, functional design, which is informed more by practical concerns than aesthetic considerations. Those who champion the chunky look of Lakon craft typically say that they prefer their ships to look like ships, not abstract sculptures. Corporations. Mistopoulos Mining. 300 years of reliability. In 2951, an imperial senator named Gia Mistopoulos helped an imperial group wrest control of a key set of mining rights from a federally backed partnership.
Frameshift drive charging.
Mistopoulos later took direct control of the mining operations, and under
All clear. Safe travels, Commander.
his and his daughter Nia's guidance, the company rapidly expanded. The Mistopoulos family was already held in great esteem for its patronage and power. And loyalty to the Empire, and many Imperials were more than happy to do business with them. Accordingly, it was within the Empire that Mistopoulos gained the most ground, though the company also established operations in several independent systems. Much like the Empire itself, Mistopoulos has been under the control of a single dynasty for centuries. Rather than adopt conventional marketing strategy, it has opted to focus its corporate spotlight on the individuals in charge.
Fuel tank disengaged. Frameshift drive
Capitalizing on the
charging.
imperial cultural regard for people of taste and status. The Mistopoulos family are trained from birth to play the part of charismatic aristocrats to the full, acting as ambassadors not only for the company, but for the empire. In particular, they seek to demonstrate the viability and humanity of the imperial way of life as a direct ideological challenge to the Federation. The company's current head, Gabriela Mistopoulos, has gone out of her way to ensure that any slaves working for the company are exceptionally well treated. She
Disengaged.
also earned plaudits for a prisoner reform program that offered imperial prisoners at Jennings Hollow the chance to become corporate slaves and to earn a generous performance-related bonus. But despite the popularity of this gambit, Federal and Alliance citizens were quick to point out that a slave is still a slave, regardless of the generosity of the owner. Corporations. Saud Kruger. The finest for the best. To independent pilots, Saud Kruger is best known for luxurious passenger liners such as the Beluga, Dolphin and Orca, although the company also runs a tourism branch under the Astrogator brand. Saud Kruger started life as a yacht manufacturer in Bedaho, although the narrowness of the market curtailed the company's growth. When company director Stanislav Kruger purchased the struggling Astrogator touring company in 3270, he gave Saud Kruger a foothold in multiple star systems. Kruger then refurbished the Astrogator fleet and revamped the somewhat stale tour itinerary to give it a more adventurous, thrill-seeking flavor, which proved highly successful. Goldskin leather, sourced exclusively from the planet home of the Bedaho system, has been used in the interiors of Saud Kruger ships for years and is part of the company's distinctive aesthetic. Saud Kruger has the exclusive right to produce real goldskin, which comes embedded with coded nanoparticles that act as guarantors of authenticity. Saud Kruger also competes in the field of interstellar mapping and deep space exploration, and likes to emphasize the danger and glamour of exploring. The company's critics claim this approach risks transforming the vitally important field of space exploration into a pastime for the idle rich, thus alienating the many freelancers on whose hard work the discipline depends. Corporations. The Sirius Corporation. Powering the galaxy. Of all the mega corporations to dominate civilized space, none compared to the wealth and influence of the Sirius Corporation. The rise of the Sirius Corporation began in 2339, when the organization launched a corporate colonization mission, the first of its kind, to the Sirius system. From there, the corporation went on to become the lead supplier of fuel and technologies to both the Empire and the Federation, catapulting it to powerhouse status. The corporation's promise not to favor either side in the event of conflict helped to cement its position. As the corporation grew, fuel supply and drive manufacture remained its core business, although judicious expansion into other markets supported its expansion. But the corporation's ascendance has not been without complication. In 3251, it introduced a technologically revolutionary passenger liner called the Antares, which it hoped would usher in a new age in interplanetary travel. Unfortunately, however, the ship disappeared during its maiden voyage. It was speculated that a failure in the ship's internal containment systems had destroyed the vessel, but it was not until 3302 that wreckage from the ship was recovered, and this hypothesis proved wrong. The Antares incident cast a long shadow, stalling the Sirius Corporation's plans to develop.
Delay C, Tango, Hotel, Echo. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau is honored by your presence, Commander.
Further superfast liners, but 3278 saw a reversal of fortune with the introduction of a new, faster drive system. The success of this new system more than made up for the losses that followed the Antares incident, propelling the organization to new heights. Today, the corporation has multiple divisions, many of them giant conglomerates themselves. But its primary focus remains the manufacture of fusion reactors, hyperdrives, and hyperdrive fuels. This division still operates under the banner of the Sirius Corporation, although technically it is conducted by Sirius Hyperdrives, with the parent corporation acting as a holding company. The company's mining, industrial, and power divisions are probably its largest. Sirius Mining works closely with Sirius Industrial to produce specialist equipment for both planetary and asteroid mining. In addition to industrial smelters and refineries, atmospheric processing.
Permission granted. Please proceed to Bay 02. We have engaged auto-docking protocols.
Reactors. Sirius Power produces generators ranging from 10 kilowatt devices to 100 gigawatt plants for industrial facilities and atmospheric processors. The Sirius Corporation maintains a large private fleet with which to defend its interests. The majority of its ships are supplied by Guatemala, although a proportion are manufactured under license in Sirius's own shipyards. The corporation controls dozens of star systems and has even created a governmental subdivision, Sirius Gov, dedicated to managing these systems. Indeed, it has been observed that the people of these systems enjoy better quality of life and greater personal security. See Sirius's private fleet than many independent systems. Corporations. The Rockforth Corporation. Living naturally. The Forth Corporation was founded in 2673 by the Rockforth family.
Docking complete. Lockdown procedure initiated. The services of this Imperial facility are at your disposal, Commander.
On Thompson's World, an unusually beautiful planet, similar in almost all respects to Earth. Thompson's World began as a federal colony, but by 2748, Rockforth controlled so much of the planet that it was able to claim outright ownership and secede from the Federation. In its early years, the Rockforth Corporation earned
Maximum capacity.
Observe speed restrictions upon exiting.
now proceed to landing pad 2-4. Initiating auto-docking protocols.
Incoming message.
authorized. You are clear for approach to pad 39er. Automated docking assist is now in progress.
Incoming message. Landing gear retracted.
Hotel Echo. We look forward to receiving your destination, Commander. Please follow docking procedures and enjoy your visit.
plant capacity exceeded. Power plant capacity exceeded. Shields offline. Power plant capacity exceeded. Shields offline. Shields online. Power plant capacity exceeded. Shields offline. Power plant capacity exceeded. Shields offline. Shields online. Shields online. Power plant capacity exceeded. Power plant capacity exceeded. Shields online. Power plant capacity exceeded.